All right, folks, thanks so much for tuning in to Game 2 of this Senior Boys triple header. This is the second of 3 games here in the David McMullen Gymnasium tonight, and we've got a neutral game for the Lakers fans at least, as the Samuel de Champlain Jaguars take on the Sir James Dunn Academy Algonquins. Jaguars are undefeated in single A play so far this year. The Algonquins in second place, the Lakers, hometown Lakers, who we just saw dropping 2 out of 3 sets to these Algonquins. They are in third place, but all 3 of these teams will be headed to regionals in about a week and a half. Still always nice to get a tune-up. This is the final of 6 triple headers with these 3 teams, as they know each other quite well by now. See, coming out for the Jaguars, not exactly the same lineup we saw them with last time they were here. Last time they had a much longer bench and dressed 2 liberos. Tonight only 1. It's number 1 Xavier Levain. The other potential libero, Jean Adona, is wearing a regular number 3 jersey, so I don't think we'll see him play in that capacity right now. Other players on the court for the Jags include number 11, Sam McIntosh, number 12, Alec Wilson, number 7, William Lajoie, number 13, Gabe Powell, and number 4, Alexander Daigle. Taylor with the first serve, and that response is out of bounds from Sam McIntosh, so it's the Algonquins getting on the board first. Here's Taylor again. Sends it over, and Powell to Levine, and Daigle. Nope, check that. Lajoie will send it over. Here's Aubin. Powell in the back row. Lajoie and number 12, Alec Wilson, will send it. Will Chamberlain to Aubin, who winds up for a big hit. Powell in the back row, saving yet again, and pinballing around now. This is a great rally from both sides, and Algonquins just can't quite finish it off.
That was a great rally between 2 teams. You saw a lot of really good saves in that rally that were really close to hitting the ground. Unfortunately, it did result in it hitting the ground on the Algonquin side.
Yeah, big scramble. I thought they were actually going to save that at the front of the net because they did have 1 hit left, but unfortunately just out of reach for the Algonquins. So Algonquins up 2-1 now. And here's Washington at the front of that. Powell to Daigle, and just punching it over. Chamberlain, it's back to the Jags now. Powell from the back row. Taylor rather, has that. And big hit from Aubin. It is now 2-2. As the Jags score that one. And here's Alec Wilson. Nice hit from Wilson, fielded by Taylor. Aubin. Chamberlain trying to reach it, but that's Paulette and McIntosh getting hands on that. Not sure who was the definitive blocker. I might record a block for both of them there. Certainly a team effort. It's service from Wilson catches the top of the net. He'll check out of the game for the Liberos, Xavier Lavigne. And here's Max Aubin back to serve. Powell, the front to Daigle, who will punch it over. Chamberlain, Sim, but again a big block from the Jags. This one falls inbound. Ethan Collette having a great start to the game. Gets the ball back for his squad. Sam McIntosh, as Algonquins readjusting their defensive positioning. It's going back corner. Gentry Taylor is there. Chamberlain, and the big hit from Sim still falls on the Jag side. Good recovery from Leving. Powell has moved up to the front row, and there's a kill from Gabriel. Powell sends it over, and the Algonquins send the response directly into the ceiling.
That was a really good attempt at a receive. It was really close, but he just swung a little too much as he came up with the ball, and it resulted in it hitting the ceiling.
Yeah, it can be hard to receive those big hits coming your way. Powell definitely a strong player on the Jaguars side, so Algonquins will need to adjust now that he's in the front row. Is might be getting in their heads a bit. Campfire ball, we didn't see too many of those against the Lakers, but mental mistake costing the Algonquins on that previous point. They get it now, though. Washington back to serve. Sends it over to Lajoie. Daigle and Powell trying to punch it over. He and Taylor have a battle. Good recovery by Will Chamberlain and Gentry Taylor for the Algonquins. And Lajoie goes up for a hit, kind of adjusts and elects to go softly instead of power, but catches the top of the net. So kind of messes up the angle there. Here's Washington looking to tie it up. Powell. Daigle and Levin from the back row sending it. Chamberlain now. Gentry Taylor, big hit, but that was feathered by Sam McIntosh. Too bad because that was going out of bounds. So we're all tied up now. And here's Tyson Washington. Levin to Daigle rather at the front, and Lajoie will send it. Chamberlain and Sim looks to send it over. This block misfired as Collette, who's had a few good blocks so far, kind of misplays that one, accidentally brings it down with him. It's Alexander Daigle giving him some pointers. Levin, good hustle up on the response, and Powell makes no mistake of that, recording another kill at the front of the net and getting his team the ball back.
He's been doing a really good job with reading the plays and figuring out exactly what he needs to do, whether that be a tip or a spike or just passing it over.
Here's Max Aubin now. Back row, McIntosh to Lajoie, and another big hit from Powell. This one comes in short side. And again, yeah, just doing really well at reading the defense. Elected to put that in a different spot. Here's Daigle, big jump serve, but that falls well out of bounds.
We've been seeing that quite a bit with these teams, is that every time they go for a serve, well, not every time, but quite a few more times than you normally see, it's been going out.
Yep, Jags playing their first game tonight, so still kind of calibrating with the back of the court. Algonquins have had some movement already, but they're still, we did, as you mentioned, see that trouble at their first game as well. So still working on that part of the game. Here's number 9, Ethan Collette with the serve. Chamberlain to Taylor, sending it back row. Might have been a double hit there as Jags recover, though. Good rally here by both squads. Sims to Taylor, who sends it out of bounds. His assistant coach Simon Poulain gets that in.
Unfortunately, just a little too turned to the side when he went to hit.
Yeah, it was that kind of a rough spot, like right in the middle of the court. He couldn't really adjust an angle and try to use like the cross-court extra length to his advantage. You saw there again as Taylor sends it right to the back row. He's got a powerful hit for sure, but just got to work on the positioning to make sure it falls between those red lines. That's out of bounds there, so 11-9 as Algonquins doing a decent job staying in this. And this catches the front of the net from Sim. And here's Powell now. Jags record another as we'll get an actual substitution, not just the libero, as Jean Yadona, who is often a libero, is going to check into the game wearing just a regular jersey this time around. Sam McIntosh will grab a breather. It's Powell, another big serve. That one rides the top of the net, but falls over on the Algonquin side.
That was lucky because those can go 50-50 whether they go over the net or they don't.
Yeah, the one advantage is if they do fall over, usually you can catch the other team unaware. Powell in the back row. Lajoie will send it, and Daigle, big hit from the middle of the court, but again, kind of miscalibrates and hits it a little too high in the arc. So here's Gentry Taylor now. Taylor sending it. Leving to Lajoie, and Yadona getting his hands dirty. Oh, nice dig from Leving. One-handed, kept it alive in a relatively playable ball, but neither teammate could get there in time. It's head coach Jetina Richard Babin giving them some pointers. Here's Yadona directly over, and Washington kind of or underestimates, I guess, how far he is from the net, and ends up putting that on the floor on his own side. There's Lajoie with an ace, puts that right in front of his opponent, who tries to extend but can't quite get underneath. Lajoie again. Sim sends it high, but it touches the ceiling. And I did do a bit of reading. I think that is still considered an ace, even if the opposing team can field the serve, if they do so in a way that leads to a point that still does count. Lajoie sends this one out of bounds.
A little too much power on both the serves and the hits this game.
Yeah, they've had a bit of trouble calibrating, but it always takes a little bit of time to find those red lines, especially in a different gym. So I expect by the end of this set, the Jags will have found their space. Powell with a big hit, and again, the Algonquins just not quite close enough to the front of the net. So Powell records his 4th kill already. That's on top of at least one service ace. Having a great set so far, as his teammate Alec Wilson sends it into the net. So we're all the way around the service order. And here's Max Aubin for the Algonquins. Aubin will also catch the net, so teams trade misfires. And here we have Gian Adona for his first service. Chamberlain to Sim, who will send it. Lajoie is there. Daigle puts it up, and number 9, Ethan Collette, sending it over for the kill. So making some plays on offense as well as on defense with a couple of blocks already. And here's Adona. Powell at the front of the net, but guilty of the net touch there. Our referee, Mark, will make that an easy call.
Just a little too much of a downward swing as he went for it. Too close to the net.
Yeah, his jump was good. I think you're right. It was his hand that caught it right at the last minute. Here's Levang passing forward. Daigle to Powell. And this one off the hands of the defender.
What a tricky ball. I know that most players would have difficulty even attempting to get that one as it shot straight to the side there.
Here's Daigle now, his team closing in on the first set victory, but they'll have to wait a little longer. 21-15. Certainly not out of the realm of possibility that the Algonquins can come back, but Jags feeling pretty comfortable. Here's Leving. Lajoie. And Powell, this time he misfires, sends it into the net and into the face of his own teammate as the Jags shake it off. It's number 4 now, Will Chamberlain. That catches the top of the net. And the libero Living will rotate off as Alec Wilson is back up front. Here's Collette. And tough call as Aubin thought that was going out of bounds, but that was not the case. Ethan Collette will record the ace, and we'll get a timeout now by coaches Claire Neufeld and Charlotte Bartlett.
Definitely a good idea, because you can tell that some of the players are starting to get into their heads with the score right now being a little lower than I think they would want it to be.
Yeah, the Jags are really knocking on the door. They're only 2 points away from victory. Algonquins need a big comeback here and play basically mistake-free volleyball, which is pretty hard to do under the best of circumstances. So, history comes into play as well. As we mentioned, the Algonquins have not yet defeated the Samuel de Champlain Jaguars in a 3-set match. They may have won a set here or there, I'm not sure. And for a while, it looked pretty close. We were actually kind of all tied up at 8 and 9, but Jaguars just able to pull away. You're just tuning in. This is game 2 of a triple header. These two teams will finish their best of 3-set matchup, and then at 8 o'clock, we will have the Lakers taking on the Jaguars. If you're just tuning in, they dropped a 2-1 set decision against the Algonquins a little earlier. You can catch that video on our YouTube channel here. Here's Collette looking to send it over, has an ace already to the front of the net. Chamberlain sneaks it over and finally paying off for him. We saw him attempt that little sneak over from the setter's position quite a few times with the Lakers. Never really hit, but finally here it does. And here's number 1, Josh Sim, but we have a whistle. Must have stepped over the line, and that's a tough time for a mental mistake. That will put the Jags into set point. Off the hands of one of their strongest servers, Gabe Powell has an ace already this game. Let's see if he can finish things off. And no, there's that commentator's curse. That'll catch the top of the net. So, yeah, you knew it was bound to happen at some point tonight. Gentry Taylor now. Lavigne, but no one's there, and tough break. Directed it to where a teammate could have been if you had someone playing up near the referee, but I don't know, was well too far back. Here's Taylor again. Daggle. And that falls in bounds. Nice kill from Alec Wilson. And that'll do it. It got close there at the end. Samuel de Champlain keeping it respectable. But ultimately, Sir James Dunn Academy keeping it respectable, but ultimately falling 25-19. As that'll conclude the first set.
That was a pretty good set. They had some really good rallies, and as you said earlier, it did get pretty close there at one point, but the Jaguars were just able to pull through and get more points ahead, and that started to get into the heads, I think, of the Algonquins.
Yeah, and certainly fatigue could play a factor here as well. They are playing their 4th set in a row, about to go into their 5th, and a lot of those guys out there have not yet come off the court. They do not have a libero, so no way to really spell off guys if needed in the back row. Could be a factor to consider for sure. Take a moment to thank the folks working behind the scenes. Big thanks down there at the Don Fletcher minor officiating booth to our minor officials. Carly Good is pulling double duty right now. She is working both the in-house wall-mounted scoreboard and the flip chart sitting on top of the table, so that up here we've got a good view of the score as well as the referee. And she is seated next to Violet McDonald, who is checking all the right boxes on that scorer's iPad. A big thanks to both of them. Without minor officials, the games cannot happen. So if you're tuning in, you're a Harvey High student, and you'd like to help out, Mr. Fletcher would love to see you. Just stop by his room sometime, and I'm sure he can get you started. Up here in the skybox, we got a couple guys who are on their second game as well. Big thanks to Logan Wall pointing us in the right direction on the camera, and Austin Jameson, who is both tuning in, keeping an eye on the audio, as well as working our our on-stream scoreboard, which does have to be run separately. And a big thanks to you, Adeline, for jumping in a little impromptu tonight.
Yeah, I'm glad I did. It's definitely a good game to commentate on.
Yeah. Certainly, if some of those points on the first set are anything to consider. There were some really good rallies. As for the Jags, looks like a couple of substitutions. Number 8, Orlando Cormier, has checked into the game, as well as number 6, Grady Gammon. It'll be Adona and Colette taking a breather, as well as number 11, Sam McIntosh. So, coaches Richel Babin and Poulain rolling into their entire bench here as we get started. For the Algonquins, it looks like mostly more of the same, although number 4, Will Chamberlain, has checked off. Number 7, Bryson Fennedy, is on the court for this point. No, check that. Number 4 is still on there. Must be a different player on the bench. It looked like he was wearing number 4, but I could be wrong. So who's off? We got Rodriguez, House, Ross Chamberlain, and one other. Owen Hamilton, I think, on the bench. Okay, there's Will Chamberlain. He is not on the bench. He's definitely on the court as he puts that over. And here's Gammon, who sends it. Taylor, good scramble from Sim, and trying to sweep in was number 4, Will Chamberlain. Couldn't quite do it. Not sure if he just slid on his knee there. That's gotta hurt. It's a big jump serve from William Lajoie. And a bit of confusion there between Aubin and Chamberlain. Neither one sure who was going for it.
And as that ball got lower and lower, it got more and more difficult for there to be a possibility of a play on it, which made it more difficult for either of the boys to attempt to do something.
Yeah, that's the key of communication, because you need to kind of commit to getting that ball as soon as you can. The longer you wait, as you mentioned, the more difficult it gets, and the more likely it is you're going to give up the point there. But the Algonquins get back into this now. Here's Bryson Fennedy. He'll try to tie things up. Powell in the back row. Excuse me, and Max Aubin manages to send it over for his first kill of this game. Had a couple against the Lakers. But he is on that, active on that stat sheet now. Fennedy again with the jump serve. Powell up front, and Daigle keeping it alive for Lavigne.
Really
Here's Aubin volleying cross court, but Lavigne is there. Daigle to Gammon again. This time, hit is misangled. That will not clear the net.
That does happen sometimes, and it's very unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you're backpedaling there like Gammon was. Had to find his place. As call is out of bounds. Fennedy not happy with that call. Coach Claire Neufeld, not sure if she's unhappy or just telling them to shake it off. Taylor. And good play at the front of the net from number 8, Orlando Cormier, coming in off the bench. Daigle. Pass back to Powell, who will send it. And that looks like the call is, not sure if it's inbounds or out of bounds, but it caught the shorts of Fennedy. Either way, it's a Jaguars ball. Here's number 12. Alec Wilson with the serve. Lajoie to Gammon, who sends it. Taylor. Will Chamberlain. Josh Sim on the third hit, looking back row. Gammon again with the hit, but it catches the front of the net again. Or top of the net, rather.
Rolled off of his fingers a little bit. That definitely hurt his hand a little bit there.
Yeah. Sam Nisham certainly rolling in some of their younger players, and this is how you learn, right? At the senior ball level, you just got to kind of trial by fire. Daigle to Gammon, blocked nicely by Washington. but the Jags keep it alive. Back row hit from Daigle. Nope, check that, Lajoie. And Lajoie's done that a few times so far. Just hard to calibrate from that back row. Aubin, Powell has it. And Daigle tries to sneak it over. Nice heads-up play by Josh Sim, keeping that one alive. Here's Lajoie, keeps it in, but Bryson Fennedy is there. Big hit. And Lavigne can't quite lay out. That's nicely done by Josh Sim. And here in that one, had that really nice play, keeping it alive as well. Aubin, looking back row, Lajoie is there. Powell to Gammon. We got a whistle, net touch. Now here's Aubin with a chance to extend the Algonquins lead. Lajoie sends it high, and that will indeed hit a back wall. That is out of bounds.
Just a little too far up with that receive. He had to back up, and he didn't have enough time.
Aubin, again, Lajoie fielding. This time he gets it up front to Daigle. Gammon, the hit that goes awry. And we're going to get a timeout here as Coach Jetsinat Hichal Babin will call it. Her team trailing by 5 in the early going. You can hear the Algonquins. They're pretty pumped down there. Take a moment now to shout out our corporate sponsors. Big thanks to Scott Pierce at RE/MAX East Coast Elite Realty and the Little Village Vacation Resort for Dogs. Our sponsors help us to improve the viewing experience and get more students involved in the streams. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, please don't hesitate to reach out. My contact information is in the video description.
The Jaguars trying to get some more motivation to go back into the set right now.
Yep. Coach Jetsinat Hichal Babin making full use of all the linguistic tools at her disposal. I think I heard her talking in English and in French down there. To her Samuel de Champlain Jaguars. Here's Aubin. Let's see what adjustments the Jags were able to make. Daigle. Up to Gammon. Good adjustment from Gammon at the front of the net, knowing he wouldn't get that at that angle. Powell will knock it over. Aubin in the back row. Here's Chamberlain. But we got a whistle as double hit there. Doesn't seem to matter. Sim puts it out of bounds anyways, but either way, Jags strike first coming out of the timeout. Grady Gammon back to serve. His first time tonight, but that will go out of bounds. Now here's Tyson Washington. Hear the cheer from at least one St. Andrews fan down there. It's Lavigne coming up to make that play. Daigle and Powell's in the front row now. You can hear Chamberlain. You can see Chamberlain kind of shaking his hands after making that block. And nice heads-up play by Will Chamberlain, keeping that alive after the failed block. Couple of St. Andrews players going in for the kick. St. Andrews, traditionally a strong soccer school. Not sure if those athletes in Fennedy and Aubin also soccer players.
It would not surprise me with the little slide that they did there.
Yeah, probably not the first time they've made that move. Fennedy playing it more traditionally with the hands this time. Here's Taylor with the hit, but Lavigne is there. Great work from the libero position by number 1, Xavier Lavigne. Powell, and that's sent over by Chamberlain, but Cormier with a great dig. Aubin fielding the big hit, nicely done. Sim will send it, but it falls just out of bounds.
Pulled his arms a little too much when trying to send that one over.
Yeah, it was too bad because that was a really nice field from Aubin. It can be tough with that ball coming at you hard, but he sent it right to his setter. Service from Daigle will catch the net. This will send Will Chamberlain back to serve. He was shaking his hand after blocking that big hit earlier. Let's see if he's managed to recover enough for a good service. That one from Daigle goes all the way up. Didn't even hit a rafter, just hit the top of the ceiling proper. There's Coach Richard Babin getting her team going. Powell adjusting to beat the blockers, but Chamberlain is there. Sim looking back row. Nice work by Grady Gammon to keep that alive. Here's Powell cross court. Aubin fielding it. Bryce Infinity, but at the front of the net. Nice heads up play by Josh Sim. Almost kept it alive, but ultimately I think that was Lajoie based on how his teammates are congratulating him, who made that play at the front of the net.
Yeah, he had a really nice tip over. Went straight to the ground. That was really well done.
Service from number 8, Orlando Cormier. Will hit the bottom of the net. He'll check out and get Leving back on the court. Sam Deschamps coaches basically want him out there as much as possible for good reason. He's been making great plays like that hit right there. Here's Sim to Chamberlain. Third hit from Aubin, just volleyed over. And here's a big hit, but smart play by Sim. Started to get in position, but pulled up to let it roll out of bounds. We'll have an official substitution now as Grady Gammon is out. Yann Adona is in. I think Adona's going, to the back center. So he's not wearing his libero jersey tonight. He does on occasion, but a strong defensive back row right now for the Jaguars. Sim will overpower that as that falls out of bounds. And here's Gabriel Powell now. His team trails by 5. And now it is 6. As Algonquins in a good spot. Michelle Balbang just doing the best she can to get her team back into this. Here's Powell, good first pass. Lajoie to Adona. Gets it over, but Gentry Taylor sends that into his own face. Kind of messes with the trajectory, and that causes the ball to pinball around, ultimately fall on the side of the Algonquins. Here's Lajoie again, big jump serve. Sim to Aubin. Washington will volley it. Gabe Powell is there. Daigle in motion, nice work by the setter. Chamberlain looks to send it to the corner. Powell to Daigle, and Powell again. Here's Taylor coming up, keeps his face well out of the way this time. Aubin with a nice hit. Adona reads it well. Daigle looking for a hole in defense, and he finds it.
Just a little misread of where that ball was going to go for the Algonquins there.
Yeah, but some smart work by Daigle too. He hasn't gone to that well too often, and that's the key, I think, to that setter sneak. If you go to it too often, they'll start to expect it. But if you can kind of lull them to sleep and then pick your moments well, you'll be able to find success a bit more consistently. Here's Fenedy. Serves it well. Leving to Adona. Wilson looking back row. Taylor has it one-handed. Gets it to Chamberlain, and the hit now from Tyson Washington. Algonquins would love a few more of those from their big man, number 5. Here's Fenedy again. Good service, Leving, and Washington with the tip, but Leving keeps it alive. Aubin looks cross court, but Powell, smart move. Ducks down to let that go over him. That's hard to read, coming straight at you.
Yeah, definitely. It can be very difficult. I think he's glad with himself for making that call there.
Yeah, it's a hard one to live down. Algonquins have had that a couple times tonight. They made the wrong call, and it does not feel good. Jags score another. Trying to claw back. Here's Alec Wilson with a good low serve. Taylor fields it directly. Powell up with the pass. The back set, and Lajoie has it, but hand comes over the net. Here's Max Aubin now. Aubin, good service. Adona sends it. Fenedy is there, and we got a whistle though. Double hit. Yeah, indeed, a double hit. As referee Mark making that call. 14-18 now as Adona goes back to the service line. Here's Jean Adona. Good service. Taylor plays it. Washington will send it on that third hit. Just a gentle volley over. Cormier looking for the hit, but Fenedy is there. Powell elects to send it gently, but over the defense he does. Josh Sims' response falls out of bounds.
That was a great tip. Really well thought out for the placement there.
Here's Chamberlain to Sim, cross court, and that falls just in bounds. Really nice placement from Josh Sim, his second kill of this matchup. And if you're just tuning in, a reminder, Sam Desham did win the first set, 25-19. So the Algonquins need a win here to stay alive. Jags would love to close this out in two as they have another game against the Lakers coming up. Nice dig from Aubin. Leving will send it over. And here's the hit from Taylor. William Lejoie catches the basketball net. And that will be a dead ball.
Those basketball nets can definitely get in the way of some of these higher balls.
Yeah, if you're at the wrong angle, if you're too close to them, they really lower the ceiling for you. Powell with a nice kill. He hasn't had too many this set, but if the Jags can get him going, Algonquins will need to watch out. Here's Daigle now. Big jump serve from number 4, and confusion there is Fenedy and Washington. Neither one knows who's responsible. Aubin comes in to give him a few pointers, and Coach Claire Neufeld from the Algonquins bench reminds them as well. Taylor to Aubin. Back to Taylor, who bumps it back row. Jean Adona is there. Here's Lejoie setting up Powell, but that goes out of bounds. Not sure if it was Bryson Fenedy making that call, but if not, he listened well. As this goes out of bounds, SJDA maintains their lead. Leving sends it high. Powell, second hit. And just volleyed over. Fenedy is there. Big hit, but another big block from Cormier. Still alive now. Powell sends it right over. And that's on the Algonquin side. Tough break as number 10, Gentry Taylor didn't make contact. A little too far away from the net. Here's Cormier. Had a big block moments ago. Let's see how he is on offense. Taylor sending it. Looking for the back corner. Adona is there. Powell with the gentle volley. Here's Chamberlain and Taylor. Big hit. Daigle and Adona get that. Looking for the back corner. Aubin with the back pedal. Good move, keeping it alive, but third hit from Fenedy. Only gets one arm on it and angles it in towards his teammates.
There was some really good hustle in that rally, though.
Yeah, both teams getting desperate here as Algonquins really want to make sure they keep their foot on the gas. Don't let this wounded animal back up, and the Jags can smell the possibility of a comeback here. 19-22. Here's Josh Sim. Jump serve from Sim. Powell fields it high and setting up his teammate Gentry Taylor for a big kill. Taylor, one of the Algonquins' best players in their matchup against the Lakers. He comes up big when the Algonquins need him most. Et c'est vrai, ce n'est pas fini. Comme nous rappelle Jatina Richard Barbin, l'entraîneur en chef pour les Jaguars. Mais c'est bien proche. As we're going to get a timeout called. Algonquins on set points. And minor official there, Violet McDonald, giving us the peace sign. Although probably just showing the ref number 2. I don't know if that's just the second timeout that... I think it is actually the second timeout that the Jags have called this set. I imagine that's what the 2 means. Big thanks to her as well as Carly Good, our minor officials for this matchup. Hudson Mason was working the scoreboard as well for the earlier game. And big thanks to everyone who pitches in down at that Don Fletcher minor officiating booth. Big thanks as well up here in the skybox to Logan Wall pointing us in the right direction with the camera, and Austin Jameson keeping an eye on the audio levels and the scoreboard. And thanks to you as well, Adeline, for stepping in.
Some very loud cheers this time. I think the boys are very hyped up for this.
Without a doubt. Algonquins would love to steal the set here, and they've shown they can hang with these Jaguars. If they get the point, they're basically tied. Same score for both sets. As referee Mark just letting the Jags know that was their second timeout. Must be that. They only get 2 per set. Dago sends it high, and there's the victory. Look at that celebration. Algonquins are loving it, but the coaches remind them, hey, stay out there, stay focused. That's just one set. We got another one coming, but still. Love to see it by identical scores, 25-19. This time it is the Algonquins taking it, and we are going again to a third and final set here in the David McMullen Gymnasium. Really exciting back and forth volleyball.
Yeah, there's a lot of rallying in this game. And even with the very hard spikes down into the ground and some of these points being very difficult to receive, there have been quite a few where they did, in fact, receive it very well, even when it was very difficult for them to.
Some great feats of athleticism for sure, keeping these alive. Some good digs, one-handed plays, scrambles to get to the ball. We've seen some good back pedals from the back rows of both teams. Sam DeSham certainly the favorites coming in. They have not yet lost a 3-set match. Algonquins would love to bring some momentum into the playoffs. This is their last regular season matchup against any team. For the Jags, they have this, and then they will play the Lakers right after. So look to the Algonquins to leave it all out there on the court. It will be interesting to see who Jatina Richard Babin and Simon Poulin send out. For coaches Claire Neufeld and Charlotte Bartlett of the Algonquins, I expect it'll be mostly the same 6. They can sleep on the ride home, but they got to put their best lineup out there to get a win right now. Lineup is complete from the Jags. We'll see who takes the court. As referee Mark sends it over to Violet McDonald to input into the scorer's iPad. And we'll take this brief moment to shout out our sponsors. Big thanks to Scott Pierce at RE/MAX East Coast Elite Realty and the Little Village Vacation Resort for Dogs. Our sponsors help us to improve the viewing experience and get more students involved in the stream. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, check out the video description for my contact information. All right, for the Algonquins, it is number 7, Bryson Fennedy, number 2, Max Aubin, number 5, Tyson Washington, number 4, Will Chamberlain, number 1, Josh Sim, and number 10, Gentry Taylor in the first service position. Not sure if it will be theirs, though. For the Algonquins, we have Adona up front, Alec Wilson and William Lajoie joining him. In the back row, Gabe Powell, number 4, Alexander Daigle, and Xavier Lavigne has checked in as the libero, but he is replacing number 8, Orlando Cormier. It is indeed Taylor who will serve first for the Algonquins. Big service, Lavigne has it. Powell, good hustle, and Adona will send it over. Nice scramble by the Jags here on the first point. Aubin looks to send it, but Jags on the block, guilty of a net touch. So the Algonquins take first blood. And a reminder, this is just a 15-point set. Every point matters here. Lavigne to Lajoie. Adona from the middle will volley it. Will Chamberlain setting up Aubin, but this time it's blocked well by Alec Wilson. Lajoie putting it up for Powell, and that will fall just out of bounds. So again, Algonquins get the point here. As Jags a little unfocused, they are missing a couple players from their lineup. I'm not sure if they're starters or not, though. So not sure what's going on with this undefeated squad, but Algonquins looking like they could be in position to steal a set here. That ball falls out of bounds, so Jags are on the board now. Here's William Lajoie. Big jump serve. And Josh Sim can't get there in time, so just like that, we're all tied up. Things move quickly in these 15-point sets. It's Lajoie again looking for the first Sam to Sham lead in quite some time. Maybe since the first set. Here you go, all tied up at 2. Chamberlain punches it over. Here's Adona with the hit. Max Aubin is there. Aubin again with the hit, but Leving from that libero position. And Dago will send it. Gentry Taylor, good lateral movement, keeping that alive. Here's Aubin with the volley. Leving to Dago and Powell. Gentle volley. Bryson Fennedy will send it back to his setter. Aubin again, this time bumping it over. So just seeing a little bit of everything. And Powell looking for a corner. He finds it. So now it is 3-2 for the Jaguars. Yeah, both sides doing well. This is a very even matchup right now. Washington to Chamberlain, and Tyson Washington sends it over. Here's Lajoie. Chamberlain, and at the front of the net, it's Adona and Fennedy. But Fennedy, who gets the upper hand, pushes it past the defense. And now he will go back to serve as his reward. Cross-court service, but it will catch the top of the net. That's tough. If he had sent it straight, it might have made it over, but hard to know as you're just approaching that. 4-3 now for the Jaguars. Taylor. Chamberlain at the front of the net. Pushes it over, but Adona is ready. Adona! Nice adjustment at the front of the net. Volleys it so that it just brushes off the fingers of the defender. Here's Wilson, and that falls just inbounds. There's an ace for number 12, Alec Wilson. And after an early Algonquin lead, it's the Jags turning the tables. 6-3 now. Sim tried to send it up to Logan Wall, working our camera. So that came up high. And after giving up that point, Coach Neufeld is going to call a timeout here. Potential for a victory for the Algonquins slipping away now as the Jags find their footing back.
Let's hope they can get it. They had a really good second set there, and let's hope they can keep some momentum from that set.
Yeah, they're playing well out there. Just serving isn't always up to snuff. They've had a few misfired serves and just losing some of those net front battles. But Jags are a good team. There's a reason they're undefeated in league play. They're a very smart team, making adjustments both in terms of the lineup and in terms of their actions at the front of the net. Either way, should be a good final few points as we do this 1-15 third tiebreaker set. And here come the boys in red from St. Andrews and the orange and blue clad Jaguars. Same lineups for both squads coming out of the timeout. Let's see what adjustment Coach Neufeld and Bartlett were able to instill. And it's Alec Wilson now. Had a good ace earlier. Taylor will receive it. Sending it over on the second hit is Chamberlain. Lajoie looks back row. Good back pedal by Sim. Aubin to Chamberlain, who sends it over. Gabe Powell is there. Adona with the volley over the defenders, and there's a mental mistake as the Algonquins are not calling it now with a team at 8 points. They are going to rotate on the court. As Will Chamberlain double checking something with the ref, not sure. Maybe double checking for a double touch. Either way, Algonquins will need to tighten up those mental mistakes. If they want to beat this Jag team, they'll have to play pretty near perfect. They can do it. They were doing it earlier. But mistakes like that will cost them big against this tough opponent. Referee just double checking everyone's in the right position. Carly Good has switched the scoreboard around on that flip chart, and we're ready to go. Here's Alec Wilson with the serve. Chamberlain. Taylor will bump it up over the defender. Powell to Daigle, and Lajoie with the big hit. That's off the defender and out of bounds. Nice kill from William Lajoie, who has not always been able to direct it within the red lines, but this time he doesn't need to. Just puts it off the hand of the defender. Sim at the front of the net, and Orlando Cormier got a little greedy, tried to tap it over, but instead directed it into the top of the net. So that will stop the bleeding for the Algonquins. 9-4 is the score. So Aubin will send it. I don't know, can't get there, and now the Algonquins with a bit of momentum. They try to get back into this. Aubin, good service. That comes to Gabe Powell, and looks like an infraction at the front of the net. There's a net touch, either Chamberlain or Washington, and they get some clarification there. But either way, that's a costly infraction for the Algonquins. And here's Adona. Chamberlain to Josh Sim for a big hit. Nice back row play from Adona to keep that alive. Aubin with the pass to Chamberlain, and Sim will volley it up looking for the corner, and a rare miscommunication for the Jaguars now, as they try to shake it off and get back in position. Here's number 5, Tyson Washington. Always capable of some big games. Relatively quiet so far tonight, but wouldn't the Algonquins love for him to come alive right about now? Hit from Gabe Powell catches the net. So Algonquins get the ball back. They trail by 3. Looking to make it 2, and Cormier to Daigle. Neither one can get it over. That's a really tough angle, almost underneath the net.
Yeah, they had a lot of good attempts to get it off the net, but every time it was just came up a little too short and went right back into the net.
Big hit from Powell, and that's just in bounds. So he stops this little Algonquin run before it can get too dangerous. Gets the ball back to his teammate Alexander Daigle for some serves. Well, at least one. And that can't be fielded by Fennedy. Nice service from Daigle. He'll look for a few more of those. Here he is, 12-8 is the score. As Taylor punches it over a little awkwardly, but really good heads-up play from the Jags. And Powell again at the front of the net. Nice block from Gabe Powell, showing his value on defense. 13-8 is the score now. Penultimate point, as some of our commentators like to say. Here's Daigle, and smart play from Bryson Fennedy. That's a gutsy play too, with the score where it is.
Yeah, really good last-minute call. And yeah, that was a 50-50 chance of whether or not he was right on that. So it definitely was very risky. It worked out in his favor, though.
And really nice dig there from number 1, Josh Sim. I hope they've got a lot of ice in his household. See hit the deck hard, laying out for his team, but to no avail, and now it's set and match point on the hands of Orlando Cormier. Chamberlain to Taylor for the hit. Adona is there in the back row. Lajoie to Daigle. Tyson Washington keeps it alive. Taylor, good call now from the Algonquins as they start to communicate. And you can see how pumped the coach is on the sideline as well, as Algonquins need to play pretty much mistake-free volleyball as their opponents have set point. Here's number 1, Josh Sim. Sim with a heartbreaker of a serve. That will catch the top of the net, and that will do it. Samuel de Champlain takes the third and decisive set by a score of 15-10. They remain undefeated in league play, in terms of matches at least, and we'll get a handshake between these two teams. A great battle between them both. So as we mentioned, this is game 2 of a triple header. Make sure you stay tuned on our YouTube channel. We've got the Lakers against the Jaguars coming up. It is already past the start time because both these games so far have gone to 3. So stay tuned. That should be on the air in about 20 minutes as we'll get the warm-up. Before we go, big thanks yet again to everyone who worked on the stream. Big thanks to minor officials Violet McDonald and Carly Good, as well as our head referee Mark. Big thanks up here in the skybox to Logan Wall, Austin Jameson, and Adeline Albert as well. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you in about 15-20 minutes.